All right. Chapter 25. The Anabaptists, founded 1521. The Anabaptists were founded in 1521 by Nicholas Stork, Mark Stubner, and Thomas Munzer. The heresies were founded on the following Lutheran maxim interpreted subversively. A Christian man is a master of everything and is subject to no one. They further claim that the infant baptism is null, therefore adults only can be baptized. If the Anabaptists writes Honnegus, a German Protestant writer, in La Réforme contre la Réforme, were not all equally intolerant, they were nevertheless all equally detested, hated, and persecuted by the Protestants much more than by the Catholics. Queen Elizabeth ordered them to be excluded from England. Madden, in Phantasmata, describes the religion in the following terms. We find among them claims to intercourse with God and angels, to the gift of prophecy, to the power of driving out evil spirits, to the right of persecuting opponents, to visions, ecstasies, trances, convulsive seizures attributed to supernatural influences, and all these evidences of epidemic religious mania in countries which were Protestant. At certain periods in its history, this sect wielded great power, and Madden further writes that in Westphalia, for a length of time, the entire Senate was composed of theomaniacs. As the Republic was composed alone of fools and madmen, it is incredible to what a length they carried their excesses in Munster. Each magistrate proposed for the rule of government that wild chimeras of his own imagination, disguised under the imposing name of revelation. It was a sad spectacle to hear the deliberations of a Senate composed altogether of fanatics, some being inspired in perfectly contrary way to that suggested to others. Nevertheless, each one adhering to the dictates of his inspiration, because he believed that a special revelation had been made to him. When such things, says Camille, take place in a country where pseudo-prophets are tolerated who disseminate terror and run about the streets without any clothing, when the multitude set these things down as superhuman phenomena, when the inspired of both sexes walk about thus in public places in the midst of their disciples and apostles, the will of the Supreme Being is supposed to serve as a rule and direction to all these extravagances that mortals fall into, and it is difficult to say where will end the excesses of this religious delirium. The Anabaptists, when they fell into the hands of their enemies, allowed their fingers, tongue, nose, and ears to be cut off, nay, even suffered themselves to be drowned by hundreds of torrents, rather than desist or depart for a moment from the orders they imagined came from God. In 1525, Luther headed an alliance of the princes and governments to repress these excesses, and they were defeated at the Battle of Frankenhausen in that year, their leader Thomas Munzer being seized and beheaded. In 1536, John Leyden proclaimed himself king of the New Jerusalem, but his glory was of short duration. He was taken by the ungodly and put to death. The principal leaders of the sect were John Matthias, John Beckhold, David George, William Hackett, Cotterus, Coleman, and Debericus. The principal offshoots of the Anabaptist fanaticism in Germany, Holland, and Switzerland were the Adamites, the Apostolics, the Taciturn, the Perfect, the Impeccable, the Liberated Brethren, the Sabbatarians, the Clancicalarians, the Manifestarians, the Bewailers, the Rejoicers, the Indifferent, the Sanguinarians, the Antimarians. All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving.